I still can't get over it. And what I'm talking about is the embarrassing Week 1 loss to the Indianapolis Colts. And I want them to come up here and make a late-night edition of Dolphins Today, further emphasizing that Miami, and I say when I talk about Miami, I'm talking about the organization. I'm talking Stephen Ross. They need to fire Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. The two of them need to go. And until they do get fired, nothing in Miami is going to change. They should have been fired following the 2024 season. I said it. You can go back and watch the videos. I firmly believe that each of them should have been canned following the year that was just a disaster from start to finish. Well, based off what we watched in NFL Week 1 as the Colts dominated Miami, it feels as if we are on track for the same exact thing again. And both of them are the main people at fault here. We will probably have a larger conversation about Tua Tagovailoa tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for that video on Overreaction Monday. But I'm focusing on the head coach and GM. And you know what? Let's start with the GM, Chris Grier, because this defense got torched by Daniel Jones. And I want to make sure I have the stat correctly, so bear with me as I read this. I believe that the Colts in this game scored on every single possession they had. All 7 offensive drives they had, correct. They scored, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown. It is the first time this century the Dolphins have failed to record a defensive stop. That is the low we've hit. Fun fact, expanding on this, the Colts are the first time since 1977 to score on every one of their possessions in a game. Oh my goodness. And I think that's just regular season because the Bills definitely did it to the Patriots a couple playoffs ago. But the point remains the same. Those stats coming in from ESPN reporter Marcel. The defense that Chris Grier put together clearly is not adequate enough. And it's more or less focusing on the secondary. You have Storm Duck and Jack Jones starting. They were abysmal. I mean, they were terrible. Storm Duck left the game in the first half. Rasul Douglas filled in. He was fine. I'll be intrigued to look more at the film and the numbers tomorrow as well as more tonight while y'all are even watching this video. But we've said it all off season long. This secondary is atrocious. And yes, we needed to draft a defensive lineman. We needed to draft a guard like Jonah Savianaya. But I also was pounding my fist on the table for Will Johnson consistently throughout the entire draft process. I'm not going to claim to know more than Chris Grier. But you know what? Honestly, maybe I do. And I'm not going to claim to think that Grant and Savianaya are going to stink. And I'm not going to act like Will Johnson would save this team. It's not the case. But the point is, we all knew that the defense needed help in the secondary, and Chris Grier neglected it, and they got torched. And his answer was to try to make the pass rush and defensive front so good that it wouldn't matter that you had a bad secondary back there. Well, I got a newsflash for you. The secondary had to work their ass off because the front 7 got no push off on the pass rush. They had 1 sack, and it was Bradley Chubb. Chop Robinson, I didn't call his name. Jalen Phillips, I didn't call his name. Zach Sealer, I didn't call his name. I didn't call Kenneth Grant's name. Honestly, the second most impressive defensive lineman was 5th-round rookie Jordan Phillips, just in the second half making nice plays in the run game. So it's like, if these 5 guys aren't going to consistently generate pressure, which, by the way, Daniel Jones had all day to throw, then this secondary has no chance to hold up on the back end. And that has to go back to Chris Grier's team building. This team has not won a playoff game in 25 years. Chris Grier has been the GM of this football team since 2016. How does a guy have the job that he has for damn near a decade and with no playoff wins to show for it, he is still in that same position? I am sick and tired of it. I am fed up with it. Chris Grier has done a horrible job building this team since 2016. Terrible. And it's about time we made him pay. He should not be employed by this organization going forward. Mike McDaniel talk coming up here in a second. But who is more to blame for the blowout loss in NFL Week 1? Not talking the overall, non-success, but I'm talking about just in Week 1. Is it McDaniel or Chris Grier? Let me know your thoughts. I do want to shift my thoughts to Mike McDaniel now. I said it in our instant reaction video where we broke down a lot of stats, talked about the game, and I largely talked about firing this man. I truly believe he should be canned. I mean, without a second belief or a second thought to it, in my opinion. He is not a good football coach. He may be a innovative offensive mind, but the NFL caught up to him. They did. Mike McDaniel was really fun in 2022. He was really fun in 2023. 2024, he was not good at play calling. Teams locked him up and didn't give him any breath or any breathing room really offensively. And in this first game of the year, the Colts did the same exact thing. Now, a lot of that maybe can be blamed on Tua Tagovailoa and how poor he looked in terms of his mobility, his arm strength, decision, and accuracy. It was very bad, and we'll expand on my thoughts of that tomorrow. But Mike McDaniel is not good. He did not have this team ready to play. They were unorganized. They were uninspired. They came out flat. How do you come out flat in the first week of the NFL season? That is truly hard to fathom. And until the Dolphins have a guy that can lead a locker room and have his team ready to play fundamental football consistently, you will not be able to win. I do not care how poor this roster is. Does that have to deal with it? Absolutely. But if you are going to have a coach that can't inspire the locker room and can't have them playing fundamental football, that is always going to hold you back. And we'll get more into my thoughts here on the Dolphins brass coming up in a second. But we are sponsored by Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. We appreciate them, the daily fantasy sports app and platform I play every single day. I make decisions every day, and when I make them on Prize Picks, if I'm right, yeah, I can cash in where it's good to be right this football season. It's so simple to play. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you could get your picks right, you can cash in. PrizePicks also offers injury reboots, by the way. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks will not count it as a loss. Just make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long. I missed out in this first week of the season for Miami. Missed out on Schott, missed out on Malik, but I was right on Tyler Warren, and they did give you that discounted stat projection for Lamar Jackson, which I always recommend. Keep an eye on that. We told you about it all week long, which is why you need to sign up with PrizePicks today. Download the app, use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Let's get more into Mike McDaniel and Tua here. Marcel, photo from Coop, good job, Coop, says it was something left to be desired. There's throws he makes 9 times out of 10, and he didn't make them today. Add that the loss is not on Tua. Very difficult to play quarterback when you have surprise pressures. I mean, is he really blaming the offensive line here? I think that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, are you serious? Listen, I have to go back, and like I said, this is videos being filmed relatively fresh after the game, but I wanted to get you all another video really expanding on my thoughts on why I think McDaniel's a joke. But I don't think the offensive line was to blame. He got belted, Tua, that is, from behind on his blind side, sure, in the first half, and he was pressured a couple other times, but I don't for 1 second believe the reason why the Dolphins offense scored 8 points is because of the offensive line. The Dolphins offense scored 8 points because the team wasn't ready to play, and Tua Tagovailoa was absolutely garbage. 2 interceptions, a fumble, where that fumble was on a strip sack, which he knew everything. He had time, stepped up in the pocket, and then held the ball out like a loaf of bread and got hit and fumbled it. And then the interception that he threw in the first quarter on the first possession had Tyreek Hill on a 16-yard inbreaker. He sailed the throw. Intercepted. Should have hit him with ease. And then the other interception, once again, rolling out to his right, throws it over the middle of the field, doesn't see Laiatu. Like, right to him, didn't even move. Thank you. Like, Tua was horrific. And I'll be honest. If Tua's going to go downhill, I mean, then it's time to clean house. It is. And that's why I have been saying on social media, follow me on Twitter, and why I'm saying it here is that McDaniel and Grier need to go. That the two guys are incompetent. And Jeffrey Cooperstein, what do I hate more than incompetence? Absolutely nothing. And when you watch these two guys run this team, and I'm talking about McDaniel and Chris Grier, there is not a single time where I think in my head, okay, these are the right guys that we have in charge, and we just need to fix the roster a little bit with a quarterback and reshape the group. No. When I watch it, I look at McDaniel, he's the problem. I look at Chris Grier, he's the problem. If y'all agree, let me know. If y'all disagree, let me know. But I firmly believe that this team will not go anywhere until they fire Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier. Heck, I might do a head coach replacement video this week. It's possible. Let me know if y'all would want that. I know a lot of people in our live chat talked about John Gruden. I'll say this, and I'll end it. Well, I won't end it here, but I will mention this right now. Will the Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel this week? Absolutely not. Stephen Ross will not do that. Will he get fired mid-season? Honestly, TBD. Dolphins don't do it often. But if they lose at home to the New England Patriots, who, by the way, did not look good against the Las Vegas Raiders today, they lost 20-13. Then you might have to have a legit conversation next week if they lose that game after they lose to the Patriots at home. But predict it for me before we round out the show. Will Mike McDaniel get fired this year? Type Y for yes or N for no. McDaniel was asked about the loss in his post-game presser. He said, the way we lost probably is an overall better way to learn an absolute lesson. If you ever let the game or desire to achieve be bigger than the nuts and bolts of executing, not dropping people in protection, not overrunning tackles, then you're going to have those results. I do agree. I mean, we didn't really talk about the defense in this episode that much, a little bit with the secondary. I talked about it more in the instant reaction. The defense, other than the secondary, they were so bad in pursuing the ball carrier. I think I counted 3 or 4 times. They just overcommitted, easy stop, and cut back inside for a big gain. And some of the, honestly, defensive play calls by Anthony Weaver were very questionable as well. I'll never forget, I think it was like a 4th down, and the Dolphins brought a nickel pressure. Sure, whatever, bring a blitz, Jason Marshall Jr., and the player that they vacated was Josh Downs in the slot, and he just ran an out route like 4 yards, just needed to get 2 to get the first down, and the defender that was supposed to be guarding Josh Downs was legitimately 12 yards down the field. Like, how is the safety supposed to get to Downs? And if Daniel Jones read it, which it's hard not to read the corner blitz coming right in your face, oh, easy completion, pitch catch. Like, so it was like overall bad. Coaching was bad. And it starts with the head honcho, which is Mike McDaniel. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Dolphins Today. Just wanted to rip another video for y'all, expressing more thoughts on why I think McDaniel and Grier need to go. I mean, if it's not for the inability to win meaningful games over the last 3 seasons with McDaniel, if it's not for the inability that you haven't won a playoff game in the last 9 years, basically decade with Chris Grier as GM, I don't know what else it's going to take for them to get rid of him. But there's just absolutely no way they can be in their current positions this time next year. And if they are, I got to be honest, I think I might be out, folks. I'm being so dead serious. If I have to watch Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel be GM head coach next year and they don't have a drastic turnaround this year, which I do not forecast happening, then yeah, we're done. But that's why you subscribe, because we call it how it is. We have weekly live shows. We'll be live tomorrow, Monday afternoon. We're live for every game still, no matter what. And I'll tell you what, if they fire Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel, we'll be going live on the channel for a very long time. It's going to be a lot of fun if that day ever gets there. So, yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you tomorrow with more content. Peace out.